Okay, thank you. So let's look at reflective versus formative indicators. So far, you have done some basic analysis, and it is very important that we know the difference between reflective versus formative indicators. Now, the relationship between indicators and then the underlying constructs can be in two different forms. That is either presented as formative or reflective. All right. So a latent construct are assessed through observable indicators, or how do you call the manifest variables. I think we have done this during the discussion of terminologies. So we know what we call observable indicators, and then the manifest variables. They are the same thing. So the measurement model defines how these manifest indicators relate to the latent constructs. So now you want to know the relationship between the indicator itself and then the construct or the latent construct. So in reflective models, the latent construct causes the indicators, right? So if you want to know that this is a reflective model, the whole point is that the latent construct is what is causing the indicators, right? It's what reflects the indicators. So what this means is that changes in the construct lead to changes in all indicators at the same time, all right? In the same way, informative model, the indicators cause or is what defines the latent construct, all right? So it means that changes in any indicator directly affects the construct, all right? So reflective indicators are interchangeable and they share common themes. On the other hand, formative indicators are unique, they are distinct, and each contribute distinctively to the meaning of the whole construct, all right? So let's look at the key distinction between reflective and then the formative models. So in reflective models, the latent construct exists independently of its measure, all right? So the construct is on its own. Even if one indicator is removed, the underlying construct remains the same or intact. Nothing has changed. Last week, I think we did some example where some of the indicators of a construct they don't meet the 0.7 threshold, and then we had to delete them. So even when we deleted them, the construct still remains unchanged because even when one item is deleted, because it is reflective in nature, the indicators share common themes. And for that matter, when one indicator does not meet the threshold, and it is required that you delete it, you can delete it. So the construct on itself remains intact, all right? So most skills in business research and methodological literature employs a reflective approach to measurement. So in business, most of us are business students here. Most of our research that we do, they are mostly reflective in nature. So that is why so far all that we have done, we have been doing reflective. In formative models, the construct is entirely dependent upon the indicators chosen by the researcher. So it means that it reflects a constructive interpretation, all right? So unlike the reflective, whereby the latent construct exists on its own, with formative, the indicators are the ones that come together to make the formative model or the latent construct exist, all right? So formative indicator cannot be dropped without changing the meaning of the construct. Why? Because each of the indicator contributes unique information to form the latent constructs. So with formative, if one of the items is being deleted, it means that the underlying idea of the latent construct remains invalid. It changes, all right? Unlike the reflective, where when you delete one indicator, it still stays intact. With formative, the whole idea is that the indicators are the items that come together to form the construct. So when one is deleted, it means that there's going to be imbalance, and for that matter, the construct as a whole does not really depict what it's supposed to depict or measure. All right. So let's look at direction. The direction of causality differs. So with reflective models assume constructs. All right. And then it means that the constructs are the one which is causing the indicators. Informative, the indicators is what forms the construct, as you can see here. So let's look at some typical examples. We have what we call socio-economic status, right? This is a very common latent construct that we know. And normally, according to the UNDP, socio-economic status are normally formed by three main indicators. That is income, education, and then occupation. So these three exist to make what we call socio-economic status, right? So when we depict only income and education without occupation, it means that we are not really measuring socio-economic status. Why? Because when that is not part of the model, it means that we are not really looking at the socio-economic status, because these three come together to form that. So when one is missing, we are not really looking at that. Okay. So here we have SES. SES is just an abbreviation for socio-economic status. So SES1 here represents income, and then SES2 education, SES3 is the occupation. So this is how we depict the diagram. Because the indicators are forming the latent constructs, it means that the arrows move directly towards the constructs. Okay. Yes. So together is what they form, what forms the construct. So normally the error term, which we see here, is the E3. That is the error term. The error term here is normally found within the construct as a whole. Okay. Let's look at another example on the other side. We have job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is normally reflective, okay, because when we take away one of the indicators, the job satisfaction still remains intact. For example, you can set questions depending on what you want to tackle or what your focus is. For example, we want to look at job satisfaction. You can really look at only I enjoy my work. I feel valued. I feel valued and appreciated. I feel motivated at work. I am happy with my job. So all of these things are statements that reflect job satisfaction. Okay. So the statements here are normally correlated with each other. So when one is even taken out, still the underlying construct remains valid. All right. So that's why we term as reflective. So looking at the diagram, we have the arrows pointing from the construct itself and then towards the various indicators. So the indicators are the JS1, JS2, JS3, all the way to 5. And then the error term can be measured from the indicator itself, right? That's why you see the E1, E2, E3 to E5 outside the box. So another example is Human Development Index. So this is also a composite index that has been accepted. And normally, these are three core indicators that form that. So when we have variable on life expectancy at birth, education, and then income, these three put together form what you call Human Development Index, right? So here, the same way, the arrows are pointing towards the constructs. So if I take away HD3, it means that what I am looking at is not really HDI, because if you want to really look at HDI, one of these indicators has to be available. All of these indicators must be present before you can say that we are measuring human development index. In the same way, life satisfaction is a reflective indicator. Looking at the question that we have set, I am satisfied with my life. My life conditions are excellent. I am happy with my life overall. All of these things are same things that let us know that yes, this person is really satisfied with his life or not. Okay, so there are things that reflect or that shows that this person is satisfied. So it is reflective. In that case, the arrows are pointing outwards. They are moving from life satisfaction to the indicators that these are in box. So you can recognize that with the SmartPLS software, it doesn't show the error term in the diagram, okay? But ideally, error terms are really depicted. So that is why I've shown it here. So now let's look at what you call confirmatory tetrad analysis. Confirmatory tetrad analysis is a statistical method used to empirically test whether a measurement is reflective or formative. Okay, so now we understand what we mean by reflective and formative. And the software can also help us to determine whether a particular construct has to be reflective or formative. Okay, and we term it as confirmatory tetrad analysis. So this is an analysis in the software that will help us to determine whether our underlying construct is reflective or formative. And the red tetrad here means 4. So it means that before you can do confirmatory tetrad analysis, you have to have at least 4 indicators for each construct. Okay. So CTA examines the pattern of correlation among 4 indicators at a time. Okay, to determine whether they share a common underlying cause. In the reflective model, all tetrads should vanish, okay, or they should cancel out, or they should be equal to 0, because indicators are caused by the same latent construct and they share common variance. Okay, so the variance should cancel out, or they should be equal or near to 0. In the formative model, tetrads do not vanish because each indicator contributes uniquely and then they do not share the same common cause. Okay, so most of the times with formative construct, the correlation between each of the indicators are not high. Okay, so in that case, they contribute uniquely. They don't measure the same underlying construct. They are unique on its own. Okay, for that matter, they do not share common variance, and normally not the covariance are not equal to 0. So CTA provides empirical evidence to validate theoretical assumption about the nature of the measurements. Okay. So let's look at how CTA is applied. The test uses chi-square statistics to evaluate whether the observed tetrad values are significantly different from 0. Okay, we're going to look at that in the practical session. And then if the values are not significantly different from 0, they support a reflective specification of the measurement model. Okay, and then if the values are significantly different from 0, this indicates that a formative specification is more important or appropriate. So CT helps researchers to avoid misspecification errors that can lead to biased parameter estimation and incorrect conclusion. So it means that as a researcher, it is always important that you assess the CTA to know whether you are supposed to use reflective or formative. Okay, so in case you do that, it helps you to know, and then you're able to do correct estimates and then proper conclusion for your result. And this empirical test complements theoretical consideration when determining the appropriate measurement model. Okay. So what is the decision rule? So if 0 is inside the CI, the CI is the confidence interval. So normally confidence interval, we have the lower and then the upper. So if 0 is in between the lower adjusted confidence interval and then the upper adjusted confidence interval, and the p-value is not, it means that not significant different from 0. Okay, so if 0 is inside, it means that 0 is between the lower and then the upper adjusted confidence interval. In that case, you can say that the reflective logic is not violated. If 0 is outside the confidence interval, it means that the model is significantly different from 0. And for that matter, the logic behind reflective is violated. It means that we are going to go for formative. Okay. So let's see if we can do some practical examples in the software. I don't know if there's any question at this point. Okay, so I believe that my screen is being shared. Yes, so this is the software. And so far, the data that I've sent is what we are using. So I believe that everybody has the data. So the last time we're looking at the project 2. Let me open that. Good. So let's try and see if you can create a model today, and then we look at what you have learned today. So I have this is the TL, that's the transactional leadership. I also have TS. So let me model TS as part of the leadership. So this is transformational leadership. And let me see if I can add one to it. So this is laissez-faire. I don't know if the spelling is right. Friends, is that right? Is it LAI, something like this, right? Oh, good. I think I deleted it, sorry. So let me connect and let's see what we can do today. So when you start, you can maintain them as reflective, all right? So let me first do my analysis. Let me calculate and see whether measurement model are all met. So we have here the AV is more than 0.6. The composite reliability is 0.9 here. Alpha has also been met. These two, the same thing. You have this also meeting the criteria, and then this also meeting. But we are looking at confirmatory tetrad analysis, right? So you want to know whether these models are supposed to be reflective. Already we know that what we are seeing here they are all reflective models. Okay, so let me zoom in. Because the arrows are pointing towards the indicators, it means that they are all reflective. So this is how we start. You can always start with reflective, but you can confirm to see whether your constructs are reflective or formative. So what do? You go to calculate, or else calculate, and then you look for confirmatory tetrad analysis. Okay, so you just go to calculate. I can change my significant to 0.05 because in business normally it is less than, if something is less than 0.05, it is significant. So let me calculate. So now I have my report. Okay. So now let's see. Now, you see, if you look at the firm performance in here, everything is four different indicators that is in one iteration. So we have FP1, FP2, FP3, FP4. So it's a combination of 4 different tetrad. Okay. So let's go and check the confidence interval. So if you can look at this one, we have the C. Oh, so the CI low adjusted. So the confidence interval for the lower part of the calculation, it starts with negative 0.186. And then the higher adjusted confidence interval is 0.03. So the movement from negative to positive, it means that the value, there is zero inside these two values because you move from negative to positive. And for that matter, you have to cross zero. Okay, so once you cross zero, it means that the reflective assumption is not violated. So it means that for the first value that we have here, there is zero inside. So let's look at the next one. This one to the same thing. This one has also crossed zero. It looks like almost everything has crossed zero. So we can use the confidence interval alone to check. Once it crosses zero, it means that the reflective assumption is not violated. And for that matter, it is right that we do or we use reflective. Okay. Another way to go about it is that okay, let's check. So this is for firm performance. So let's look at laissez-faire. Laissez-faire to we have negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So everything shows that this is reflective model. The assumption for reflective hold. So the same thing applies to this one. And then with this one, let's see. So moving from zero, negative to positive. So it means that zero is found within these ones. Now, another way is that we can use the p-values. Normally, if about 75% of the tetrads are not significant, you can conclude that the assumption for reflective is not violated. Okay, so we can look here. The p-value, this one is 0.05, so this is significant, right? And then this is also significant. This is significant. This is insignificant. So how do you determine the percentage? One way we can do that is that, the software does not give you the percentage of the tetra that are significant. Okay, so we can copy this to Excel. So I've copied here. Let me send this to Excel and then we see how best we can go about it. So let me copy and paste here. So I want to see the percentage, the number of test paths that are not significant. Okay. Let me see if it is approximately more than 75% of it is significant. So I can just use Excel and then maybe you can use the Excel formula equal to. So here I want to count if, so then the bracket will come if this range of values, comma, is greater than 0.05. All right, then I'll close the brackets. Okay. Let me put in quotation marks here. Now press enter. So it means that so far we have 12 out of how many are they? So 1 to 15, so -1, because the first one is not part, right? This is the heading. So it means that 12 out of 14 of these are non-significant, or the p-values are greater than 0.05. I can also do that in text, so let's see. So you can divide this one by, so I'm continuing the formula. Let me come here so that I can see it clearly. So you want to count if the range of values that has been selected is greater than 0.05, that is a threshold. So that value divided by the total number of observations. So we can use divided by count. So we want to count all the values. Okay, so we can use this count A, or you can even use the count option to work. Count. So the count if the range of values. So let me select that one as well. So with this one, there's nothing to do again because you just want to know the number of items in there. So we are just dividing the count if it meets the condition such that the values in there is greater than 0.05 divided by the total count. So count F2 to F15. So I have 0.8571 here. So it means that about 85% of these values are more than are insignificant values. Okay, so this means that the assumption for reflective is not violated, right? So you can just select percentage in here, and then it will give you the threshold. Let's see for the other constructs. So let's have the same approach. Okay, so I can paste. Let me do that in a different sheet. So the p-values are this one. So let me try and then copy the formula is here. I think because of the formulas that I use, that is why. Let me see. The thing has even vanished too. Okay, so the same approach. Even with this one, you can count, right? Oh, okay. That's not come. So with this one, we have 0.7, 0.134. I think almost everything is insignificant, so 100%. So it means that the assumption is not violated. Let's look at this one too. So when you look at this, almost everything is insignificant. So we are good. So with this one too, almost everything is insignificant. So it means that it is appropriate for us to use reflective. All right. So that is what we term as reflective and then formative. And automatically, when you start with the software, normally it is already reflective in nature. So assuming that it was supposed to be formative, how do you invert these arrows? So we just have to first run the PLS algorithm and see, and then you right click on the construct. When you right click on it, you see invert measurement model. So, or you can use the shortcut key Alt plus Q. So I'll just press on this. The arrows will now turn pointing towards the construct. So it means that the construct, the indicators here are the ones forming a transformational leadership. Okay. So the same way, if these are all formative, this is how it's going to look like. Okay. So that is it. So what do we see here are not the loadings, they are the weight, because from the measurement on the left hand side, let's look at that. Is there any question, please? Mr. Gideon, do you have any question for us? Timo, okay, go ahead.
No, sir.
Timo?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much. But I don't see top.
So, which parts are we seeing top?
I don't know whether because the first video on the smart PLS, I've not really looked at it well, because I don't know, I'm getting confused. So seems I'm
Okay,
not
so
used to it.
which part is it? Is it the whole shoe or some part of
Eh,
the shoe?
the whole show.
So I
Maybe I
think
don't know
even
whether if I revisit
Mhm.
the first two videos on the
Okay,
smart PLSs, I'll get the concept well, or I don't know.
but I hope you understand what you have done today, right?
Yes, the idea is there, but
Good. So even if you missed the first classes, okay, if you want to start with PLSM, okay, one of the first things that you're supposed to bear in mind is that aside theoretical grounds, are your constructs supposed to be measured with reflective or formative? That is one of the first things you have to bear in mind. Although most of the time, just as we have already noted that in business, most of the construct that we look at are mostly reflective. And then we have also seen examples of situations whereby we can have formative. Already in our earlier classes, we have learned when not to use SmartPLS. When I'm done, I'll post the slides, the continuation of the slides, okay, in the platform. I think earlier we discussed when and when not to use the SIM, okay. And then let me see if I can find that. We learned that we can even use SEM for secondary data, okay? So most of the times, all that we are even looking at for the formative, most of these can be done when you are looking at secondary data.
Yeah.
So even the HDI, the Human Development Index, it's an index that has been created. Okay, when you go to World Bank Group, the website, you'll be able to find Human Development Index data. And then we have learned the component, right? Today we learned that the component of the Human Development Index, um, it entails education, life expectancy, and all of that. Okay, so if you are using secondary data, we also learned that we can use secondary data, right? Here's an example. Okay, you can use secondary data. So assuming that you're focusing on these areas, yeah, you cannot use reflective, because if you are looking at human development index or you are looking at socioeconomic status, and then you go and use reflective model, it means that you are not getting what you want to do, unless maybe you have your reasons, you have grounds for which you are doing that. So what that we are doing today is that before you even start with your analysis, you're supposed to bear in mind whether your constructs, okay, the variables that you are looking at, are they reflective or formative? I don't know if you understand.
Yeah, I'm getting.
Very good. So whether you missed the first classes or not, yeah, I think you should be able to still pick from here. With SmartPLS, I don't think it's very difficult, because the software does the calculation itself. Unlike the Stata and then the other R and then Python, you have to code and then you read. And bear in mind, SmartPLS is not the only tool that is used for PLS sim. You can use R. You can use R to do sim. But R is for people who can code. Okay. Mhm. So that is it, Mr. Timo.
Please
So
go
when
to
you
the
start,
software. Let me ask something.
okay.
So please, looking at the from, you see where you are having the number, 16, 17, MOT to MO, all these things. All these things, are they variables?
Oh yeah, they are all variables. They are the indicators. Okay, they are the indicators. So it means that Timo, you missed the first class.
Yeah, I've missed it. That's what I'm saying. I've missed it.
Okay. So they are the indicators. Those are the questions or the statement that you ask people. Okay. So let's go
Ah,
back a little. So
okay.
this was I think I also posted this one on the platform.
Yes,
So
it's
this how
there.
the data looks like. So
Okay.
gender, age, education, experience, position. These are the demographic data. And then the TL1, TL2 are the indicators that are measuring the TLs. The TLs are just code. That one you do it yourself, or the abbreviations, for the purpose of you being able to identify what you are looking at. Okay. So I think there were about 5 statements or six that were measuring the concept or the construct of transformational leadership. Okay. So the MOT was, I think, motivation. And then I think the other variable COM is communication or something like that, communication effectiveness. Then FP is firm
So,
performance.
Mr. Frank,
Okay, sir.
it's like, for example, let's say the MOT, then maybe let's MOT. Then now those five, is like maybe one agree, two disagree, those kind of things. That's where you
Oh,
came by this numbering, Anna.
okay. Those are not the MOT. Let me see if I can get a question here.
I'm talking of the five, three, two, all those things.
They are the respective questions that you ask individuals. So, for example, let me use this one as example. So let's look at life satisfaction. Okay, you can be measuring life satisfaction as a reflective model or construct, and then you have to ask them various questions, right? So, for example, you can ask them that they should indicate their level of agreement. If you're using, let's say, 7 like SQ or let's say 5 like SQ, it means that you can say that one is for strongly disagree. I hope that one you understand that.
I get it.
So 5 is strongly agree. And then 3 is neutral. Okay. So the question that you're going to ask them are these 5 questions you see over here. I don't know if you can see what I'm showing you, the mouse.
Yes, I can see. I can see.
So the first question is that I'm satisfied with my life. So the person will get the questionnaire, and then based on how the person feels about his satisfaction of life, he will take. So the first person can say that, oh, I'm taking 1. 1 means that I'm never satisfied. So the
Yeah.
person strongly disagree. Okay.
Mm,
So
I get it.
somebody who, so let's say this is LS1, right? So
Yeah.
in the questionnaire, let's say our LS1 is the TL1. So the first
TL1.
person said that 4. Based on what question was being asked, the first person said 4
So
or
let's say
take
4
4.
is disagree.
So no, 4 is agree. Based on what we did here,
I'm
the
assuming. Okay.
okay, yes, okay. So if you assume that is the case, so the person says 4. So all of these first 5 people, all of these people said, assuming what you said, they agree, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So then the next question is about my life conditions are excellent. So the next question is presumed to be TL2. So the first person said,
Mm,
I am extremely agreeing to what he said. That's what the person said 5. So this said agree. The person who said 4 is agree, but his level of agreement is different for the first person because his is very high. Okay. Hmm. So that is it. I don't know if it is clear now.
this is very, very clear.
Thank you. So
Okay.
those are what we call indicators. So all the yellow that you see here are the indicators. Okay. So what we discussed today is that you want to know whether these questions are just reflections of life satisfaction or they are distinct and they are coming together to form the human or to form the life satisfaction. So the question that we asked them, they were just indications of their transformational leadership. Okay. And we have discussed that even if we delete one item, the underlying construct remains intact or valid because the statements are just reflections of the construct itself. So the construct is the blue item that we see here. But if it is formative, once you delete one item, it means that because the indicators or the questions in here or the measurement in there are the ones coming together to form the construct itself. If one item is deleted, it means that you are not the construct itself will not exist because it exists because of what? The construct exists in the formative construct idea. The construct exists because the indicators are the one that forms it. So once one indicator is omitted, it means that what you are looking at has been modified. Okay, so that is it. I don't know if it is clear, and then if anybody also has another question. Okay, so silence means consent. I don't know. Is there any questions on the chats? Let me check. Okay, so there's no question. Okay, so Timo said, yes, I thank you, I understood. So that is it. KB, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, the little bit of understanding that I want to get is from the reflective side. So, meaning if you delete one construct or which is forming the, let's say, for example, the transformative leadership, all the questions that were asked under it, if you delete one question which is not meeting the assumption of the 0.7 or so, that means that if you delete 8, does that transformation leadership still works with your work? Like, is it still valid for your work?
Oh, yes. Once you're looking at formative, the reflective, even if you delete
Okay.
an item, it is still valid because before the existence of the indicators, the construct was there. Okay, so the indicators are just things. They are just consequences of, or they are just symptoms of the existence of the construct. I don't know if you understand. What are some of the symptoms to know that somebody is blank? Okay, the person will be feeling dizzy if um if you draw a straight line for the person to walk on it, you see that the person might deviate from it. So the person will not be able to walk on a straight line. Okay. So these are just
Okay.
symptoms of drunkenness. Okay. But let's look at in the formative manner. You can say that, for example, uh, you can use beer if the person is maybe um has been taking a lot of beer. You can say that yes, this person is a drunkard, is somebody who likes drinking or is a drunkard. So the person has been taking beer. The person has always been present at the where they sell the beer and all of that. This can come together to form the fact that somebody is a drunkard. Okay, but if you're not looking at the formative and you're looking at the reflective, just the same things or the consequences. Okay, so the whole point is that with reflective, it is just a reflection of the construct. So you can even delete one. And normally, the whole point is that normally these items are correlated. They measure the same themes. Okay. So if you look at our example here, I am satisfied with my life. My life conditions are excellent. I am happy with my life. You know, all of these things are things that shows that somebody is satisfied about life. And there is some common themes underlying these questions that have been asked. But with the formative, life expectancy at birth is never the same as education. Okay, they are not correlated. There's no association between. There can be an association between the two, but association is not that high. Okay, so it is the case that with formative there can be no association or there can be little association. Income, income, and then education are also two different, distinct items on its own. Even if there is correlation, it might be very low. So that is it. That is the difference between the reflective and then the formative. I don't know if there's any
Okay.
other
Right.
question.
Yes. Well understood. Well understood. But another follow-up question still on the reflective is that from the items or
Okay.
the yeah, from the items. So how many items are you supposed to measure under a construct? Like the standard. If you get three, is it okay? Or there's a particular number of items that's supposed to measure a particular construct?
Okay. So normally, you know, if you are supposed to do confirmatory tetra analysis, we mentioned that you're supposed to have at least four indicators, right? So without these four indicators, you'll not be able to perform the CT analysis. So I would suggest that at least a minimum of four. But the whole point is that whenever you are setting up construct, it is better you set a lot of questions. Okay, so that because you don't know when you run the analysis. Sometimes last week I think we did that. Some of the indicators were not meeting the threshold. You can even run and then you can have 0.3, 0.4. Okay, you have to delete them. And assuming that you have about three items, if you set seven questions and then four items are less than 0.4, it means that you're supposed to delete them. And you're going to have only three, or depending on how much you delete and the total. So assuming that it is left with only two, in fact, it's going to be a very big problem. Okay, so normally it is very advisable to set questions, valid questions that will be able to, I mean, even if you do an iteration or deletion, you'll be able to still get enough indicators measuring the same concepts. So a minimum of four is okay because that is what is going to help you to perform your CTA. Okay, that is it. Do you
Okay.
understand what I was saying? Yeah. So when you are starting questions,
Yeah.
you
So
set
the
questions that
mm,
are so that when you come back, once you collect your data, I'm not sure you'll be able to go back and then meet those people again. Okay, so just set a lot of questions and then let them answer for you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I would like to make another follow-up question again. With the indicators, I want to know, is there any way that you can get the indicators which is more relevant or okay for your construct, so that you not go back and forth. Maybe you go and clean the item or the indicator if it's not meeting the assumptions. Yeah.
Are you saying that how are you going to get your indicator? Is that a question?
Yes, to measure.
Oh, there are a lot of validated questions that exist online. Okay. Let me see. Let me see if you have written a paper that has these questions. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Most of the times you can find them in literature. Okay. You can find them in literature. So let me see something here. Let me go to scholar.com and then I want to find out if one of the papers we stated that normally the journals that we publish in, we have limited number of words to write, so you're not able to state everything. Okay, so um, I want to check this if the questions were stated. I think this paper we have shared it on the platform. Okay, we didn't do that. Normally, some studies do share the indicators in here. Okay, so this is one construct, and then for us we did a range of values. So the outer loadings, it started from 0.887 to 0.9. So I think there were a number of items that were measuring CEP, but we didn't really show that. Let me go down and see in the abstract. No, we didn't show that. Um, I don't know if I find any study that has that, I will share it with you. For now, we also have some papers already, but those papers are not published yet, so it will be very difficult to share it live here. Can we go ahead? But you can find them in literature. Most papers that has been published, okay, they state the specific. I think I remember. Let me check this one. This one. Good. Recently, I was looking in one paper, and then I think I remember the statements were in there. Let me check if I'll be able to find it. So this man is Innocent Samuel Akwa. He's a lecturer in UCC School of Business. I don't know if you know him. He has a lot of publications. Recently, I was looking in one of his paper, and then yeah, let me check this one. Modeling circular economy capabilities. So this paper, he was looking at modeling circular economy. I can only have access with my institution. So let me log in with that. So his paper, he published it in a closed access. Closed access means that you can only have access once you have paid or your institution has access to that. They will allow you to do that. So most of the papers in Elsevier So he was looking at modeling circular economy capabilities and sustainable manufacturing for environmental performance. And then he used two different approaches, PLSM and then FSQC. Okay. So, and this journal is a very top journal. Okay. Technological forecasting and social change. If you're able to publish here, in fact, it has about more than 9 impact factor. So it's a very top journal. So all that we have discussed, you see, this is the measurement model he did for Chromback Alpha, the composite reliability. You know, we have Chromback Alpha, the composite reliability, we have A and then the row A and the row C. So this is the row C and then this is the row A. Okay, this one is the row A. And then this is the Fonalaka criterion for the measurement of discriminant validity. He also showed the AT&T ratio, this one. Okay. And then let's go down and check. I think I found it down here. Okay, so these are the items. Mr. KB, I hope you can see that. So he was looking at
Yes, please.
sensing,
Yes, please.
season, reconfiguring. And these are the statements that he asked them. You observe market trend, especially sustainable related trend. And the questions were on survey like SQ, strongly disagree to what? Strongly agree. Okay, so if you're looking for measurement, you have to read papers because if you don't read papers, you'll not be able to. So all the constructs that he looked at, they can be found in the appendix. Okay, so there are some journals they will allow a number of words up to maybe 8,000. So based on what you are doing, if you have a number of space, sometimes the reviewer can ask you to show these measurement skills. But even if you can see from here, all of these skills were adapted from literature. So the sensing was adapted from Khan Ita. And then Dangaliko Ita 2017. All of these were adapted. Okay. So adaptation means that they looked from these papers. They also got these questions and then maybe they refine it to suit their case from these papers. So can that is it. So I hope your question is answered, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't know if there's any other question. So that is the reflective and then the formative. You can also export this as image. So you just right click on it and then you can just export it. You select any of these. So most of the times PMG is the normal picture format. Okay, so you select PMG and then you can override the background or you can just let it be. You can copy. So if you select clipboard, you just copy it to clipboard. So if you want to save it somewhere in your folders, you just select the external file. Then you press on export. So export will take you to somewhere for you to save it. That is all. So that is confirmatory tetrad analysis. If there's no question, then we can just look at one more thing and then you call it a ninth. So we have what you call PLS predicts. PLS predicts. PLS predict is an algorithm that is developed by, or that was developed by Shimoli et al. 2016 to assess the predictive power of your PLS structural model, the path model. The technique employs k-fold. Okay, so k here is just a variable, so maybe 10-fold, 5-fold, whatever fold. It employs k-fold cross-validation by dividing data into training and then holdout sample to generate and evaluate predictions. Okay, so this better serves as a diagnostic test or tool to detect potential overfitting of the PLS model to the sample data. The PLS predict provide out of sample prediction metrics that complement traditional in-sample model fit assessment. So normally we have two key parameters that control the analysis. Okay, that is the number of fold and then the number of repetition. So the whole idea of PLS predictor is that if you have to go back and then take the data from the respondent again, using the same model, okay, we have our model here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 4 models, if you are to do this same analysis from different sample, okay, are we able to answer that these predictors are able to predict this well without overfitting? Like, I don't know if you understand. Are these able to predict the endogenous variable or the construct without overfitting? Okay, so that is what the PLS predict seems to address. So, if you are to go back and then take the questions, are you able to get same results that you have done? Are you able to validate your findings? So it does that by dividing the data into 2 different data samples. And the first one is the training and then the holdout. So it groups the data into training, and then the holdout is what is left. That is not trained. And then we are going to use, based on the trained data, we are going to use it to predict what has not been trained. That's the holdout sample. So let's look at the parameters. The number of fold. Normally with PLSM, the default is what? Is 10. So let's see, you come to calculate, and then you see PLS predictor or CV part. Okay. This one, you just select that. So the default number of fold is 10. The number of repetition is also 10. Prediction type, normally it is the default is early antecedent. Okay. And then this fixes. So all of these are default settings. So I've not changed anything here. So in K-fold cross-validation, the complete data set is partitioned into K equal side. So a number of equal size segment of fold. Okay. The algorithm iteratively uses K1 fold for training. The algorithm uses K minus 1. So it is K minus 1, not K1. K minus 1 fold for training the model, while the remaining fold serve as the holdout validation sample. I don't know if there's somebody want to say something. Okay, let's continue. So the algorithm iteratively uses K minus 1 fold. So if you have 10 different fold or segments, it's going to use K minus 1, meaning 10 minus 1 is going to use 9 as the training, okay? And then it's going to leave 1 for the testing. So for example, if K is 10 and the total observation, the total number of, if our K, that is our fold, if you want to divide the total sample into 10 folds or segments, and our total sample size is 350, it means that we are going to divide this by 10. For each segment, you're going to have 35 observations for each segment. So out of this 35, 9 times 35, that is 315 of these samples are going to be used for the training. Okay. And then the 1 fold that is left is going to be used as the holdout sample, or it's going to be used for the testing. Okay. So that is how the number of fold works. The same way the repetition, as we have seen from this PLSM, default is also 10. So repetition specify how many times the entire K fold cross-validation process is executed with different random sample partition. So since the data is randomly allocated to folds or segments, different runs may produce varying predictive performance metrics. Okay, so that is the RMSE, that root mean standard error, mean absolute error, and then we have what we call the Q square. Okay, so it's going to run on different samples. So that's what you call iteration. So when one fold is completed at a time, that process is what we call iteration. So the iteration is like you have taken one food and you have run and tested on the whole that sample. So that's one iteration. Okay. Higher repetition increase computational time. So when you increase the repetitions, it means that it's going to take a very long period of time to do that. At the end of the day, it's going to improve robustness of your predictive accuracy. So the PLS predict is meant for us to know whether our model has accurate predictive value. Okay. So this, for example, if we have 4 food, it means that we are going to have the first iteration is going to we are going to have let me see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is not incomplete. But we have the testing data. The testing data is the red one. Okay. So the first iteration is going to divide our sample into this fold. Okay. And then the first iteration will run on the remaining fold, the training, and then it's going to predict the testing to see. So that's one iteration. It's going to do this based on how you set the repetitions. So if it is 10, it's going to do that for 10 times. If it is 4, so here 4-fold. If our iteration is 4, it's going to do that for 4 times. Okay. So let's try that and see in SmartPLS. So you just come to calculate, PLS predict, and then let's leave everything default. Let's run that. So it is doing that for 10-fold. So it has finished doing that. Let's go and open the report. So this is the summary. Okay, this is the summary. And even if you don't know anything, you have learned that with PLSM, once you see green, it means that something is good in here. So our KLS predicts the assumption, the condition is that it must be greater than 0. If your Q square predict is greater than 0, it means that the predictive accuracy of the independent variables are predicting each of the indicators of the dependent variable well, okay, with accuracy. That's why we have Q squared to be 0 point more than 0. So here we have 0.7, and that's why we also see them in green. Okay. So we have the summary. You can also, so this is for each of the indicators of the dependent variable, and this is for the construct. So the overall Q square value is what 0.864, meaning that the overall the predictive performance or the predictive accuracy of frame performance is good, right? So other people can also use the mean absolute root mean standard error, and then the mean absolute error. So normally with this one, let me see. This C part, I don't think once you're able to do this, you are good. Let's see how the paper presented the results for the spread, if they did that. So you see, with this paper, they presented on the R square. That is all. Once the R square was greater than 0.54, it means that they are good. The predictive performance of the dependent variable is accurate. Okay. So let's see how they explained it. Results from the structural model assessment in table 4 shows that the coefficient of determination, that is R square, the predictive relevance, Q square, and then the effect size, F square, the p-value, t statistics, path coefficient, the beta. So it means that the table 4 shows all of these elements that you have made mention of. Given the F square values in table 4, so this is the table 4, and these are the F square values. Okay. SER, that is one of the constructs. SSM have moderate effect on EP. So this is the environmental performance. So here, their dependent variable was the environmental performance, EP. Okay. While the remaining construct have small effects. So Cohen has a criteria. Cohen 1998 has a criteria for grouping this into 3, whether small, moderate, or large. So let's check that. Cohen criteria for effect size. So he says that if okay, this is let me ask social science. Okay, let's use this is different. This is from different contexts. He said Cohen suggests that D is equal to 0.2 be considered as small, effect size of 0.5, medium, and then 0.8. But in social science, we use different criteria. I think if your effect size is more than 0.35, let me see if this paper they stated that normally you can find that in the measurement, the methodology. So let's go to the methodology and see if they discuss that. Okay, let me check this one. Let's look at this one. The path coefficient and their corresponding effect size. That is F square. So anything above 0.35 is considered to be strong. If it is between 0.15 and then 0.35, it is moderate. And if it is 0.02 to 0.15, we see it to be weak. So this is normally what is used in the social science context. Okay, so we reference that number 45. So let's see. Our reference number 45 is who? We use Cohen, right? 1998. So this is how it is. You can read more about this paper. So these are the criteria: 0.02, 0.15. So how do you check for your the F square? I don't know if you have not done that. Let's see that. You go to the PLSM, you run and see the results. You go to reports. So in this list, you're going to see path all the way to. So let's go to the criteria. You have our R square and then we have the L square. So we have, let's look at the list. So you have 1.9. You have 2.083, 1 point. So everything is above 0.35. So it means that the predictive relevance of our model is strong. Okay. So the F square is used to detect the predictive relevance, and then the Q square is used to determine the predictive accuracy. And then how do you get it to Q square? You go to calculate, PLS predict, start calculation, go to report. So we have a summary, the Q square, here is it. Okay. That is it. I don't know if there's any question. If there's no question, then I think we can end today's presentation here so that we can rest. It's 11:02. 11:02.
Frank,
Yeah. Hello,
Mr.
sir.
Frank,
Yes, sir, boss.
good evening once again.
Good evening.
Yeah, I think I asked Chris Bolt a question. I think I sent it to you earlier on. So he said I should ask it during the section about it's not in relation to what we did today. It's about the validated skills. Okay.
Okay.
Probably if you can take some few minutes and then help us how and where we can probably get some, it would be of benefit to us.
Oh, I think I did some right now. I don't know. It's even because of you. That's why I did that. I don't know if you saw that. We use this paper. This guy asked that question. KB asked the question about how the statement can be made, and I made reference to this paper. I mentioned that one way we can get this statements or validated skills are through
Sorry,
literature.
my network is not too stable. That is why.
Okay. So we use this one as example. For example, if somebody is
Okay.
measuring concepts about, let's see the construct. Go down here. So that's why it is always important to always do conceptual framework. Okay, the conceptual framework. Anybody who is a researcher or want to know anything about your work, the person is not going to go to your topic. The person will come to your framework because the framework is a pictorial presentation of what you intend to do. So, based on the framework, I'm able to determine that the author was looking at circular economic capabilities. So, assuming that I'm looking at circular economic capabilities, I have to read papers in this area. Okay, definitely, I'm going to find out how these the various indicators were measured. So here he was using sensing, seizing, reconfiguring, sustainable product design for that is sustainable manufacturing practice. So anybody who is also looking at sustainable manufacturing practices, the person can look into search for this paper and then read about it so that you get more idea how things were done. So the sustainable manufacturing practices is the broader constructs, as we can see here. Why am I saying that? Because this is the bigger umbrella for these 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sustainable product design, sustainable manufacturing process, sustainable supply, sustainable end of life. These are also variables. Okay, these four variables are coming together, and they are called sustainable manufacturing practices. The same way, circular economic capabilities, we have three different variables. So why are we saying that they are variables? Because next week, maybe you're going to look at the type of construct. We have higher order construct and then lower order construct. We're able to determine that is construct because when you go to the scale, the questionnaire, okay, you see each of the dimensions. So, the circular economy capability, we saw sensing, we saw seizing, we saw reconfiguring. And each of these have statements or they have indicators that measure them. So it means that the sensing, seizing, reconfiguring are dimensions of circular economic capability. In the same way, sustainable product design, manufacturing processes, supply chain management, sustainable end of life management, are dimensions of sustainable manufacturing practices, because each of these dimensions have sub indicators that measure each of the variables. Okay, so God willing, when we continue our journey in this PLS, you're going to look at what we call, we are going to look at the various types of construct, the higher order construct and then the lower order constructs. Okay, so if to answer the question, normally we are able to find skills, validated skills from literature. And looking at this, he didn't say the question himself. They made reference to Khan and then Dangilico in 2017 to get these questions intact. Okay. So, in fact, if you want to be a researcher, you must read. You must read. Because reading is what will let you have much information about things that you want to do. Okay. Reading is what makes you, I mean, a very good researcher. Because if I didn't really search for this paper, I would never have known that the statement. So anytime I want to do any paper concerning sustainable manufacturing, and then I'll come here and then also pick my skills from here. And if the questions fit the context, I'll just adapt it. That is all. In that case, I'm going to cite Aqua Ita 2024. Okay. So that is how it is. I don't know if the questions are answered. So the skills can be validated from literature. They can be validated from literature.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if there's another question. It means that we are good. So, Mr. Edwin, when I'm done, I'll come back to you. Then we see how best we can do ours. I think we discussed that backstage.
Yes.
So,
I'll be waiting.
but based on what you have shared, it means that it is not going to be an easy job, because you're supposed to browse.
Yes,
Because
I think this has given good foundation. So when we
good.
go on,
So that is it.
thank you.
So that is it for the class today. I think that is the end of the slides. Normally I don't see 10 slides per day. So I'll call it a night, because I'm in the night right now, 11